2015 UNLV Rebels football team. The 2015 UNLV Rebels football team represented the University of Nevada, Las Vegas during the 2015 NCAA Division I FBS football season. The Rebels were led by first-year head coach Tony Sanchez and played their home games at Sam Boyd Stadium. They were members of the West Division of the Mountain West Conference. They finished the season 3-9, 2-6 in Mountain West play to finish in a tie for fourth place in the West Division. Schedule source, game summaries. At Northern Illinois, passing leaders, NIU Drew Hare, 21-26, 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, and UNLV Blake Decker, 21-39, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rushing leaders, NIU Joel Boignon, 21 carries, 152 yards, 3 touchdowns, and UNLV Keith Whitley, 21 carries, 68 yards. Receiving leaders, NIU Kenny Galladay, 9 receptions, 213 yards, and UNLV Devont Boyd, 5 receptions, 107 yards, 1 touchdown. Tackling leaders, NIU Boomer Mays, 13 tackles, and UNLV Penny V, 9 tackles. UCLA, CLA. Passing leaders, UCLA Josh Rosen, 22-42, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Blake Decker, 2-6, 52 yards. Rushing leaders, UCLA Paul Perkins, 18 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and UNLV Keith Whitley, 12 carries, 73 yards. Receiving leaders, UCLA Jordan Payton, 5 receptions, 70 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Devont Boyd, 3 receptions, 55 yards. Tackling leaders, UCLA Kenny Young, 5 tackles, and UNLV Penny V, 8 tackles. At Michigan, passing leaders, Jake Rudock, 14-22, 123 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and UNLV Blake Decker, 8-16, 96 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Rushing leaders, Ty Isaac, 8 carries, 114 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Keith Whitley, 13 carries, 29 yards. Receiving leaders, Mitch Amoradarbo, 4 receptions, 34 yards, and UNLV Devont Boyd, 3 receptions, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. Tackling leaders, Joe Bolden, 6 tackles, and UNLV Tau Latulele, 8 tackles. Idaho State. Passing leaders, ISU Michael Sanders, 14-33, 164 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and UNLV Blake Decker. Rushing leaders, ISU Xavier Finney, 15 carries, 59 yards, and UNLV Xavier Campbell, 9 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. Receiving leaders, ISU Madison Mangum, 8 receptions, 97 yards, and UNLV Kendall Keys, 3 receptions, 30 yards. Tackling leaders, ISU Cody Sorensen, 10 tackles, and UNLV Tau Latulele, 7 tackles. At Nevada, passing leaders, NEV Tyler Stewart, 20-44, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and UNLV Blake Decker, 7-11, 86 yards, 1 interception. Rushing leaders, NEV Tyler Stewart, 11 carries, 61 yards, and UNLV Keith Whitley, 16 carries, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving leaders, NEV Jericho Richardson, 8 receptions, 87 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Devont Boyd, 4 receptions, 39 yards. Tackling leaders, NEV Matthew Lyons, 12 tackles, and UNLV Blake Richmond, 11 tackles. San Jose State. Passing leaders, SJSU Kenny Potter, 30-48, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and UNLV Kurt Palandech, 15-30, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Rushing leaders, SJSU Tyler Irvin 18 carries, 73 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Kurt Palandech 18 carries, 47 yards. Receiving leaders, SJSU Tyler Irvin 8 receptions, 74 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Kendall Keys 5 receptions, 84 yards. Tackling leaders, SJSU Frank Jindo 14 tackles, and UNLV Ryan McAleenan 12 tackles. At Fresno State, passing leaders, FS Kilton Anderson 1931, 193 yards, and UNLV Kurt Palandech 1224, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rushing leaders, FS Martez Waller 21 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, and UNLV Keith Whitley 17 carries, 98 yards. Receiving leaders, FS Jamir Jordan 5 receptions, 42 yards, and UNLV Keith Whitley 3 receptions, 14 yards. Tackling leaders, FS Ejiro Ederain 12 tackles, and UNLV Ryan McAleenan 10 tackles. Boys State, passing leaders, BSU Brett Rypien 35-52, 469 yards, 2 touchdowns, and UNLV Blake Decker 29-50, 357 yards, 2 interceptions. Rushing leaders, BSU Jeremy McNichols 22 carries, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Xavier Campbell 9 carries, 29 yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving leaders, BSU Thomas Spurbeck 10 receptions, 163 yards, and UNLV Devont Boyd 10 receptions, 116 yards. Tackling leaders, BSU Jonathan Moxie 9 tackles, and UNLV Blake Richmond 10 tackles. Hawaii, passing leaders, Akeka Woolsey 1633, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and UNLV Blake Decker 1524, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rushing leaders, Paul Harris 20 carries, 192 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Keith Whitley 21 carries, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving leaders, Devan Stubblefield 5 receptions, 27 yards, and UNLV Devont Boyd 6 receptions, 120 yards, 1 touchdown. Tackling leaders, Julian Jenner 11 tackles, and UNLV Tau Latulale 12 tackles. At Colorado State, passing leaders, CSU Nick Stevens 13-19, 209 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and UNLV Blake Decker 13-19, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rushing leaders, CSU Dallin Dawkins 19 carries, 151 yards, and UNLV Lexington Thomas 11 carries, 118 yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving leaders, CSU Rashard Higgins 7 receptions, 102 yards, 3 touchdown, and UNLV Devont Boyd 8 receptions, 131 yards. Tackling leaders, CSU Deont Clyburn 12 tackles, and UNLV Blake Richmond 10 tackles. San Diego State, passing leaders, SDSU Maxwell Smith 11-17, 107 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Kurt Palandech 18-35, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Rushing leaders, SDSU Donnell Pumphrey 14 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and UNLV Lexington Thomas 3 carries, 42 yards. Receiving leaders, SDSU Chase Price 2 receptions, 30 yards, 1 touchdown, and UNLV Kendall Keys 8 receptions, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Tackling leaders, SDSU Calvin Munson 9 tackles, and UNLV Kimball Jensen 13 tackles. At Wyoming, passing leaders, UNLV Blake Decker 1833, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and WYO Cameron Kaufman, 1424, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rushing leaders, UNLV Xavier Campbell, 9 carries, 87 yards, and WYO Brian Hill, 35 carries, 232 yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving leaders, UNLV Devont Boyd, 6 receptions, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and WYO Jacob Hollister, 5 receptions, 119 yards, 1 touchdown. Tackling leaders, UNLV Kimball Jensen, 14 tackles, and WYO Marcus Epps, 10 tackles. References equals.